afternoon. Welcome to In Focus. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We've got some incredible guests for you today. First, we are putting child welfare in focus. She was known for years as Twitter Mom, taking her fight with the CFS system to Twitter. She eventually got her kids back, and now she's switched platforms to TikTok, offering advice to parents who are battling that same system. Tamara Malcolm joins us. We have so much admiration for her. Also being put in focus, a residential school survivors call for National Braids Day, just like Ribbon Day that came after a young Saskatchewan girl was shamed for wearing her ribbon skirt. Donna Desjarlais was made to put her braids behind her head for a government photo ID, and she says that never again. And she wants everybody to wear their braids at least one day a year in solidarity and pride. And then lastly, we're going to go to a Rolling River First Nation member. He's joining us to share how he was taken down at gunpoint by the RCMP for harvesting moose in an area that his community frequently hunts in. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs has taken up his cause, fighting in court for him and also for future harvesters. So we've got a packed show for you. Let's start with Tamara Malcolm, Twitter Mom, as she was known while fighting the injustice of the child welfare system for several years. She now has a $7 million lawsuit against the Manitoba government for what was done to her family over 11 years. And as that winds through the courts, she's taken to TikTok to give advice to other parents who are still stuck in that system. Here's a look at some of the helpful TikToks that she's shared.
So you decide to call the worker. Could I speak to the worker? Her name is...
Okay, can you hold? Answering machine is full. You cannot leave your message for this person. Goodbye.
Wow, day 3, the answering machine's still full. Worker's not in. Okay, so I guess I'm going to phone the front desk back. Let them know that I can't get a hold of the worker. I'll leave a message with them. That way somebody gets the message. CFS. Hello? Hello? She hung up on me. How rude. Please be the worker that chooses to be there for us, not the worker that chooses not to be. There's a lot of families that go through a lot of things. We're trying to call you. Answer your phone.
Binder of Truth.
Hey everybody, it's Tamara. I'm back here with a segment on the binder. Let's call it the Binder of Truth. So the first segment I want to explain a little bit about on what I did. Let's talk about letters of support. I will include a reference as to what type of letters of support that you can insert into your binder. Collect letters of support. Create copies of the letters. Keep your originals in a safe place. Letters reference to the parent family member's ability to meet the child's needs. Letters of reference include family members, employers, past, present teachers, health professionals, therapists, counselors, religious leaders, elders, community representatives, friends, and neighbors. Create your own professional letterhead. This identifies professionalism.
I sat down with Tamara Malcolm earlier this week from her shop at B Beads on the Serpent River First Nation in Ontario. Here's that conversation. Tamara, we're so glad that you could join us. I have just so much, like an immense amount of respect for what your family's gone through and how you fought back and won. Just in a little bit of a nutshell, in case some of our viewers might not be familiar with your case, can you walk us through how your family was targeted and then broken up by child welfare?
I really can't speak on the case right now. I'd like to leave that up to my lawyer. Basically, if you go to my Twitter page, it just walks you through everything from what I went through from the start to where I'm up to now. Mm-hmm. My Twitter page is Tamara M Story. So if you want to go there,
and see what
speaks for itself.
Yeah, see what's been put on the record then. We should let our viewers know that Tamara, after the ordeal that her and her family went through, which she said you can find on Twitter for walk through how child welfare impacted her family, she has a lawsuit currently filed in Manitoba against the government for what her family went to. So we'll move on from Twitter. So you were known as Twitter Mom and all the coverage that we've been doing. Twitter Mom's moved on to TikTok. Kind of walk us through. It's like, you know, you've taken one social media platform by storm and you've moved on to the other. This time, it's not just to explain your story, but it's to help other people who are still trapped in the system and going through their own horror stories. How did this all come about that you wanted to do that?
Well, one day I was just doing regular TikToks that everybody else is doing, funny videos, and my granddaughter actually asked me, Cuckoo, why are you on TikTok? And so I sat there and I was just thinking, why am I on TikTok? So I thought about it, and I looked at TikTok. I seen a lot of other people doing videos, reaching a broad spectrum of different people out there that needed to hear a lot of things that needed to be said, and to teach other people avenues how to jump through hoops. I figured, well, why don't I create a TikTok that helps other families in directing them through things I went through, and giving them ideas where to start. For instance, when you're thrown in a loop, when a child welfare agency comes to your doorstep, a lot of people don't know what to do at times. And what I find, since I've put out these videos, I'm getting other people that went through the same experiences, and they're also putting their input as well, which is a very an awesome thing that's going on through TikTok right now.
Yeah. No, certainly social media has been a game changer, I think, in the coverage of, in kind of enlightening people as to what this industry is all about, because traditional media, mainstream media, has never covered these stories, kind of looking into this child welfare system and how badly it's, and I hate to say broken, because the system, I do firmly believe that the system is not broken at all. The system operates exactly as it's intended to operate.
Exactly, that's to take the Indian out of the child.
Yes, yeah, totally. You know, what's your, you know, I'm sure you come across people the same as I do, people who just think, you know, the child welfare system exists because it's there to help these poor children who are neglected and abused, and anybody who's involved in the system is neglecting or abusing their children. You know, what do you think is kind of the biggest lie that Canadians believe about this system, and are you seeing that fewer people are believing the lie?
I see with more stories being told, people are starting to open up their eyes to the thought. People believe that children should be taken for no reason, but that's not the case. There's a lot of cases where children are being taken for absolutely no reason. I'm actually dealing with a family right now where a mother's child was taken basically just on assumptions, and it was a baby. So basically what I'm seeing is happening with these babies now is instead of taking the babies from the hospital, they're waiting for the baby to go home, and then they're taking the baby.
Yeah.
They've just gotten a little clever at their game. I think a lot needs to be said when these things are happening out there.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. No, you're right. Other than they've rebranded what we don't do birth alerts anymore because that became a kind of a toxic buzzword. So we're going to say we're not doing that. But I'm hearing the same, exact same thing as you, and it's happening across the country. They just don't call them birth alerts anymore. They wait for you to. I know I've interviewed somebody who her baby was taken from a hospital parking lot. So yeah, I mean, I guess you're not apprehending from the hospital at that point. You're not taking them on a birth alert. You waited for her to get in the parking lot to take her kids.
And then you can call it an apprehension.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that, you know, as these, you know, and social media and what you're doing, Fiona Moore is another one who's on TikTok.
Yes, I just came in contact with her the other day. She reached out to me through social media. So I'm yet to talk to her, and I'd love to talk to her. I'm excited for this talk.
You'll love her. You guys you're cut from the same sort of cloth, and she, you know, she sees it for what it is and is using her platform to educate the public about what's happening, but also to try to advocate for parents who are going through it as well. I'm curious your thoughts on the, you know, Canada, the government of Canada said, oh, we're not going to fight kids in court anymore. We're going to honor that kind of the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal ruling that said that kids that were victimized by this system are owed compensation. Canada had fought that for a long time. Now they're saying, well, maybe, yeah, we should be compensating for that. You know, your thoughts on that? Is it going to, is it enough, and is it going to change anything?
Well, I think the compensation should be the $40,000 at start. It should be at the start, but we should go from there. Just like Cindy Blackstock had said, that should be the bare minimum. The money should actually be a little bit higher, because First Nation, they need their own spokesperson when it comes to dealing with First Nations. and the child welfare system, I believe we should have the rights being given to our First Nation chiefs, our organizations. The organizations should be the ones who should be getting this funding to help go through the process. Like, the money should be put there. The children who are being given this money, there should be an age that starts out, like, say for instance 30 years old, but also there should be mediators in place that actually will help these families in order to get these monies, to help them, walk them through the steps in order to get the monies.
Yeah, no, I agree.
There should be mental health. That's like the top priority should be mental health services. There should be, because you're opening up another big can of worms here when you're discussing child welfare. A lot of our families been through a lot. It's just like the residential school all over again. And I find with the 60 scoop, not a lot has been done for a lot of the families. Like, there's no people there to actually help these people, mediate for them. They're just basically told to do this on their own.
Yeah.
As opposed to the residential school, they have mediators that were helping get the funds that they needed, that they were receiving.
Yeah, assistance in walking through the process.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your point about the, we have for Indian residential school survivors, there's mechanisms in place for if you're feeling stressed out, you're re-traumatized, you're triggered, there's things in place for you to go through that. And I think that that's a brilliant point to make, that the same sort of things need to be provided to people who are going to be going after the federal government, saying, I am owed that compensation as well, because it is re-traumatizing. You're ripped from your parents.
Yes.
What's been the impact on your family? How's your kids doing now? Tell us about your family, the grandkids. How's everybody doing?
A lot of ceremony, a lot of bringing them back to their roots. Their roots have been ripped away from them. Like, being in an agency that was supposed to be like culturally appropriate, it's a little bit different when you have your family there to walk you through these steps and teach you these teachings, instead of having somebody else teaching you something. You're not always getting the full potential of your teachings that you should be getting coming from the voices of your parents.
Yeah. How many grandbabies do you have now?
I have 2 grandbabies.
And a new shop. Tell us about you're in your new shop. Tell us about that.
So I started a bead store, and my bead store was based on helping families, myself especially. When I first started my bead store, I had started just crafting. As I was going through everything I was going through, the beads were helping me heal. As I was going through my journey to get my kids back, it was very therapeutic to be able to bead and to just have my crafts and have my culture keep me at ease. Having that, there's nothing that can get in my way. It keeps me balanced.
Yeah.
Having my culture. And so what I do is I sell beads at a price where it's a crazy price, because I'm getting people who are like young moms, people who can't afford the craft supplies. I sell beads at a price that is a reasonable price, where people are able to do this craft to make their kids regalia. Also, another thing I did, when I had visits, I used to take my kids' beads to bead. I'd like the idea to get out there, to have beads in these visiting rooms, other ideas to have inside these visiting rooms where the kids are able to express their creativity with their parents. It's a beautiful thing to be able to create something and to take that time with your parents to actually start that healing.
Yeah. I can't think of anybody who I would like to know, to have answer this question more than you. What has to change in this system across the country? And it's not whether it's a provincial system, or whether it's First Nations system.
Yeah. The federal government needs to stop giving INAC dollars, to pushing the dollars into the child welfare system. They need to give the rights back to the Indigenous people.
Yeah.
Our people need to take that to take that ownership, to be able to have that funding on our own. Our people need to be able to be in control of our funding.
Do you think that the part of the solution in all of this, do you think that we will really see, C-92 once more communities are taking back jurisdiction over child welfare? Is that going to be the fix? Because I've heard kind of a mixed bag on that, right? Because certainly in Manitoba, which is one of the worst jurisdictions for taking kids, a lot of those kids were taken by Indigenous Child Family Service agencies, right? So yes. Some people say, C-92, who's to say that it's going to actually have an impact on fewer kids being apprehended and more families being supported? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think right now, out this way, we have band reps, we call them. So they're basically people that support the families when they're dealing with child welfare issues. What I'm hearing now is we're going to be having representation for the other provinces. That's the first step, and I think that's a good step that they're leading towards, because when you have somebody to speak to, not only we have like advocates, but having that band representative represent the community and represent the children, then it takes away from having somebody only to have a key focus on just chief and council. Now we have a band rep that actually will focus on our families. Yeah. So to be able to see the two for what they are. Yeah. Well, we are so thankful that you could take time out of your day, and we can see your bead shop there. Love what you're doing, and we'll just keep, hopefully people are tuning into your TikTok to get some other good advice. We just, merci for all you do, all you fought for, and the attention that you brought to this industry. You are one tough mama. Thank you so much for your time. Let's take a look at another one of her TikToks.
Child welfare.
Start with a binder, photos of your kids, and a call log. Keep papers organized by section, date, and time created. Make sure you have a copy of the written case plan per child. Start making calls at 9 a.m. As soon as someone answers the phone, start writing. Now inside the call log, write out the date, the time, the person's occupation, but most importantly, include the person's full name. Keep this log with your binder. Now, in the binder, in a section saved for your phone call conversations, you will include the date, the time, the occupation of the person, including their full name. Write out what was said between you and the individual. This will always cross-reference with your call log. Remember, stay calm, stay focused, and don't show anger. You got this.
Things are certainly changing as more people take to social media. She had discussed Fiona Moore. She had taken to TikTok years ago to dispel myths and publicize the predatory nature of the child welfare industry. She was a pioneer of using that platform for her public service messages. So I just wanted to take a minute so we can all look back on some of the incredible work that she did on TikTok.
Common law way of beating them at their own game. When CFS comes to your door, record if possible. As well, ask them their full name and ask if they have ID to prove that they belong to an agency. Third question, do you claim this child as your property? Do you claim to have the power to administer property without right? For them to actually prove these two questions to be answered as yes, they would have to expose the #1 trespass that has occurred against all of us from the day we were born, our birth certificate. A non-contract, non-consensual agreement that binds you to civil procedure. If they say yes to these last two questions, ask them if they're willing to sign under these statements. Write up a contract, also known as a notice of liability, with an optional fine. And then file a claim against them, also known as a private prosecution, where you file a trespass claim with evidence provided against said woman or man by yourself, another woman or man, using common law court de jure jurisdiction by jury, also called due process, to move through your claim, our public courthouse, and seek justice. Don't need luck when you have knowledge. So let's call this part 2 of how to handle CFS CPS in Canada. This method of taking an agent rather than an agency to common law court will be unexpected, but Canada, except for Quebec, is still under the English common law. It holds workers responsible for their unlawful actions rather than agencies, which are corporate entities. It can only be successful if you're willing to do the work and research. As well, other questions to ask. Inquire about their warrants and ask to see their FARA certification, the False Alarm Reduction Association certification. Also, if you need assistance with the writ of trespass, I've taken somebody who has a great template. Pardon me if I don't trust a worker. They're often guilty of committing fraud, they're withholding and destroying evidence, fabricating evidence, and seeking to destroy parental rights unnecessarily.
As we were discussing, more communities are taking back control of child welfare, making their own rules, not following Canada's rules or provincial child welfare rules, but making their own. The Cold Lake First Nation in Alberta is the latest. APTN's Chris Stewart explains their journey over the past 2 years and the impact that this change is having.
Connie Santos has worked for child services in 3 provinces, acting as agency director in 2 of them. For the past year, she has been the director of the Cold Lake Family and Community Support Services. With the passing of Bill C-92 in 2019, the bill gives Indigenous communities the power and authority over their own child and family services. Connie Santos built a staff of 12 to bring back as many children in the Alberta child welfare system as possible. A system she says is faulty.
The length of time that children have been in care without any visits, not even to their home, was, just heartbreaking. We had been involved with one family, and that little guy had already been removed from the home. It was 1 or 2 years later that they asked us to become involved. So we did, and it was the first time in that time that that little boy got to come home to his home.
She says the provincial system has not been as helpful as they should in returning children that should be in their home instead of a group or foster home. Their list of children was incomplete.
What is difficult to get from the social workers is the actual information. What's going on? Where's the child? How many visits are being had? How can we get visits happening? How can we move children home? The biggest one is how to move children home. We have not come across one social worker to date that said, hey, can we move this child back? Do you have somebody? We've not come across that at all. And that list of 65 they gave us, well, our list is up to 187 to date.
She said the barriers have not stopped them from bringing children back to Cold Lake.
And we were able to eventually, family after family after family, breaking down those doors, and we were able to as of December 31st, we were able to bring home 17 children. And so it's a big deal, and we plan to have a big celebration on February 19th to demonstrate, that welcoming the children back home after all those years of being away. It's, for some would say it was like jail.
On December 31st, Jane was reunited with her daughter. APTN cannot reveal her name due to privacy laws. Addiction issues caused her to lose custody of her daughter to the provincial child welfare system. Now clean for almost a year, she has been reunited with her daughter after 4 years apart.
Now I get to have my little girl in my care and have her watch her grow up, go to school, make friends, learn people in her community, learn her cultural ways, her language.
She says she and her daughter have already become close.
She's doing really good. She knows who her family is. She's all the time, it's mommy, mommy, mommy this, mommy that, and then chop on her, auntie, auntie. And I have a boyfriend, a fiance, and he actually stepped in as a role model for my daughter as a dad and as a stepdad. So she calls him daddy.
No, yeah, her birthday party.
She says staying sober has completely changed her life.
If it wasn't for me changing my addictions and me getting, clean, I probably wouldn't have my daughter back. And for the people that helped me get her back, I'm grateful for them.
and I'm grateful for their support. And I'm happy to have my daughter back in my life after 4 years. 4 years of barriers after barriers after barriers. She's home now, and I'm grateful. My heart is full now.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Cold Lake, First Nations.
Last month marked the 2-year anniversary of the act that is Respecting First Nations, Inuit and Métis Children, Youth and Families Act. That was previously known as Bill C-92 before it became law. So in that time, those 2 years since that has become law, 59 governing bodies have submitted proposals to take back control of child welfare for 120 affected communities. So that's something we are very proud to see happen, including there at Cold Lake. Congratulations to you guys. Well, we need to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to introduce you to a cookum you will adore. Donna Desjarlais is here to talk about why we need a National Braids Day. Stay with us.
Join our conversation now. Send your thoughts to InFocus at aptn.ca, like us on Facebook on our APTN News page, and follow or tweet us at APTN InFocus.
Welcome back. Now let's meet a cookum who is calling for a National Braids Day, just like we have a ribbon skirt day. I sat down recently with my very good new friend, Donna Desjarlais, who explains why. I'm here with Donna Desjarlais. She's a member of Sandy Bay First Nation, also known as a nosy elder.
Nosy reporter.
Yeah, and I'm the nosy reporter, that's right. Donna, so... well, you should tell a little story about how we met.
How we met?
Yeah.
I was looking through my Facebook and looking for a reporter, what happened to me in September, and I didn't know, and then I came across Melissa, Melissa Reglin. Then I had to get hold of you. Then I didn't know how to say it. I asked you if you were a reporter, and I just said I'm a nosy elder.
Yeah. Are you nosy? Are you a nosy reporter? I said, no. Are you a reporter? I'm a nosy elder. And I said, well, nice to meet you, nosy elder. I am a nosy reporter. And here we are now.
Yes.
So I'm happy that I finally get to meet you in person. Tell us a little bit about your background. You went to residential school.
Yes, I went to residential school in 69 to 70 in Sandy Bay. In Brandon from 70 to 72. It was getting haircuts all the time, short. But in 1970, 71, 72 in Brandon was the last year. Then they wanted to cut my hair. And I said, no, I want to keep it long. And then they said, okay, as long as you keep it clean. So I did. Yet when I see my sisters in the picture taken, the one I showed you, and they had shorter hair. Yeah, my sister is a year older than me, and the other one was 5 years younger than me, and then I'm the only one that had long hair.
So it's meant a lot to you to have your long hair. Since
Yes.
residential school, you've worn braids.
No, I didn't wear braids, because I never knew anything about that.
When did you start wearing braids?
Well, 2 years ago, yeah.
And so then you go to get your picture taken for your firearms license.
Yes.
You go to a little town and you go in to get your picture taken, and you've got your braids just like you have them now.
Yes.
What happened then?
And I walked in, and then the guy told me to come this way. Then I said, can you remove your barrettes, then move your pigtails to the back? Then I told him they're not, right away I told him they're not pigtails, they're braids. And the letter I got from the RCMP stated that there's no problem with the picture, it's just the photocopy that was made on a photocopy paper.
Right. So we should just explain, you were going to get your picture retaken at this point because you had submitted a photo for your firearms license,
Yes.
but it was a photocopy of a picture, and they said, no, we need the actual picture. So
Yes.
that's why you went to get
Actually, paper.
the photo paper.
Paper, yes.
Yes.
Photo paper.
So he says, you got to take out your Brett, which you said that's fine. But you didn't like your braids being combed.
No, the barrettes, it would have been understandable because if they were shiny or sparkly, interfere with the camera.
Yeah.
Then I would have taken them off, but not my barrettes.
Your braids.
Yeah.
So you end up getting, you weren't very happy that day when you were told to move your pigtails behind you, but you did it just because, how come?
It seems like the way, kind of scared too, like, yeah.
Let's see the picture, because when you got it, that just re-upset you, hey?
Yes, my braids to the back.
Yeah, you can't even see that you have them.
No.
It's like having to hide them.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that sat with you for a few months, and it didn't sit very well with you, I guess.
This one came in just before Christmas holiday, maybe 3 days before the 25th. Then I was waiting till after Christmas. Then this January, I was looking for somebody that could listen to me, because I'm not happy with trying to follow my culture. Everywhere I walk in, braids, and I get my little girls looking at me and then smiling and waving at me, because I knew it's the braids. Yeah.
And you've got green elastics on today. How come the green elastics?
Green elastic is my color of the traditional ribbons, cloth, green. I also have a green jingle dress that was made for me back in 2010 by a woman in Sandy Bay.
Well, we better give her a shout out. Well, who is that?
Irene Palsy. This last powwow we had, towards the end, I was getting ready to go to my vehicle because it's over. Then this elder approached me and she said, my little granddaughter said, in my language, she come and talked to me, my little granddaughter said, that lady ever beautiful? And I was wondering, what did she see in me?
You are beautiful.
And I was going to phone her before I came here, but don't know her number. Yeah.
Well, hopefully she watches and sees.
Yeah, that's Susan Bolio's granddaughter.
Well, I think a lot of people will be very thankful that you're taking the stand that you're taking, because you're saying, because of what happened to you, you want to see more people wearing their braids, proudly wearing their braids. You want to see like a national braid day.
Yes.
How come? What are you asking people to do? Just kind of like the ribbon skirts, right?
Yeah.
How we have a wear your ribbon skirt day?
Yeah, you want braids day.
Braids day.
Yeah.
And what made you think of that?
Yeah, because we should be proud for, I'm proud to wear my braids and proud of who I am. Yeah. You know, a woman wants to, like, I don't know why the buns, but like me, I walk in everywhere, auto packs, I walk in like this.
Are you ever going to put your braids behind you again if they tell you to hide them?
No, I'll go and get my camera and go and develop the picture at Walmart, or get somebody from the reserve. I think somebody has a good camera.
Yeah.
Take a picture of me and develop.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of other people wearing braids anymore?
Not hardly, because I go to this place here called Marion. I notice looking around.
That's for bingo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I look around, nobody.
Well, maybe if they see this and they won't see you or saying, let's pick a day and everybody wear your braids.
Yeah, my braids are here to stay, so.
Yeah.
And I'm proud, I'm happy. Like, one of my grandsons was in school with long braids, and the teachers educate kids about, that's not a girl, that's a boy. The girls will tell her, you're a girl. But actually, that's not a girl, that's a boy with a braid.
So you want women and men to be picking a day to rock. What day should it be?
I don't know.
I guess we should start having the conversation. We should all pick a day and wear our braids.
I don't know. Never thought about that.
Yeah. Well, kind of like an orange shirt day or the ribbon skirt day. Have a braid day.
Yes, something like that, because she would be proud.
What else do you want to say?
And I don't think I should prove my. Should I talk about the Autopack yesterday?
Oh yeah, so you went back to Ottawa. You went to.
I went to Autopack in Portage Mall because I had to renew my license. And this guy said, a new face. I'd never seen this guy there before. This young guy, and he said, I'll have to take a picture, Donna. What? And I told him, if you take a picture, you leave my braids alone. Told him. Then he said, no, not today, Donna. But you could just pay for your license. I said, okay. Then I told him, if you ever have to take a picture of my get a picture, take a driver's license. And are you going to bother my braids? And then he said, like the sheik, they got their turbans on, and the Mennonites got the bonnets or hats, something hats, I think she said, caps on. They're religious. And I said, that word I don't like, I said, because how am I supposed to prove something like religious? My culture was taken away from us long time ago. Then I'm trying to follow it. Then he said, no, okay, then I won't bother your braids or your barrettes. But I told him that too. If the barrettes bothers at the camera, I'll take them off, but not the barrettes. Leave my barrettes alone.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah.
And I think they probably knew better than to push that. They knew they had a cookum who is not going to be moving her braids if they asked.
That's right. Then how are you supposed to prove who you are? Like what that guy said, prove to be your religion.
Not happening.
That's kind of us, but I didn't like that word, religion.
What's your message to anybody who's watching this?
Leave my braids alone.
Well, if you talk to anybody where I grew up in Brandon, Manitoba, who went to school, Betty Gibson School actually with me for elementary school, chances are they will tell you I was a braid girl. Here I am in grade 4, rocking my braids. I wore them like that, my hair like that from grade, 2 to grade 6. And I just wanted to share that photo with Donna Desjarlais, who I know is watching from home. Maybe I'll grow my hair back to one length again so I can start rocking my braids again, just like Donna does. We asked if you would send some of your braid photos with us, and here's what you sent us. Gina Mckay from Pine Cree First Nation, she sent us this. Thank you so much, Gina. Lydia Desjarlais, she sent us these two beauties. Oh my gosh, look at this. Oh, I love it. And Pam Sunshine sent us this. Look at this, rocking it. Gonna go have a workout there. Thanks to all you gals for sharing your braids with us. Well, we have, whoa, dropping things here. We've got to take another break, but when we come back, we've got a moose harvester who was taken down at gunpoint by a bunch of RCMP officers. He's fighting in court so that future harvesters in his community won't have to go through that. I'll tell you about that after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It was a pretty standard fall day back on September 18th, 2021. Jordan Mckay is a member of Rolling River First Nation. He was out for a moose in the nearby Elphinstone area of Manitoba. That's just in the west central region of the province, kind of around Riding Mountain National Park, for those of you at home who know where that is. His gun had been put away when he was approached and taken down by numerous RCMP officers. He's now charged in connection with this incident. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, they have taken up this cause, helping him fight this in court. He joins us now to tell us what went on and what's going on. Jordan, hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. I'm thankful that you could take time to join us today. So this is an area that's frequently used by harvesters in your community. You're familiar with this spot. You've hunted there often without a problem. What happened that day to make it different?
I was hunting down the road allowance, and there was a bull moose coming towards me, straight towards me. That road goes straight north and south. And I was waiting for it to see me so it would turn, and when it did, it turned. I shot it. It turned again, and I shot it again, and it fell pretty much right where it was standing. And there's a house just across the river to the east, and a vehicle. I walked back to get my truck, and I pulled up to where the moose was, and I was on my phone texting a couple of my family members to come and help me. And this vehicle pulled up behind me and asked if I was shooting at his house, and I said no. I was raised to not point my gun in any direction of anybody or any house or anything like that. I told him I was shooting straight to the north, and there was nothing. That road just comes to an end at the north.
Just to be clear, just so to remind our audience, so you were on a road that goes north-south, like on a road allowance, I guess, that goes north-south. You shot a moose facing north. This person had felt that you were shooting at their house that was across the river on the east. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you explained to him, no, I was shooting that moose. It's over there. What happened after that?
He asked where I was from. I told him Rolling River Reserve. He said okay, and he left. And he said as long as I wasn't shooting at his house, and I said no, I wasn't. So he left. I texted my family, and they said they would be out there. So I pulled my truck up, and I tied up one of the legs of that moose to the back of my truck, and I was cutting it up. Maybe about half an hour went by. I heard a vehicle pull up behind me, so I put all my stuff down. I got up, I went to my truck and grabbed my cigarettes. And I heard somebody yelling at me to put my hands up.
Where was your gun at that point?
My gun was already in my truck. It was unloaded. It was nowhere near, like I was done with it, so it was put away. So I didn't even get in the truck. I was just reaching in to grab my cigarettes, and I heard somebody yelling at me to put my hands up. And when I looked, there was 2 RCMP vehicles sitting there with assault rifles pointed at me. So I put my cigarettes down, I put my phone down, I put my hands up, I showed them I wasn't holding anything. They told me to walk towards them, so I started walking towards them. And about halfway between my truck and the RCMP vehicle, they told me to lay down face down. So I laid down, and they put me in handcuffs and told me I was being placed under arrest.
Could they see the moose at that point?
Yes, that moose was laying right behind my truck.
Right behind your truck.
You could see it perfectly, yeah.
What were you thinking, you know, I don't have to tell you the number of headlines that are out there of people getting shot, Indigenous people being shot by police. You're out in a field by yourself, you don't have family or anybody else there with you, you're unarmed, you have your hands up, you've got 2 assault rifles trained on you, and you're being told, walk towards them. What's going through your mind at the time?
I didn't really know what to do or what to think. All I could think was, if this is what's going to happen when I'm hunting, then why do it? It killed the whole hunting thing for me.
Have you been out since?
I tried once, but I was just looking over my shoulder the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people need to stop and think for a minute what it would be like to be out just minding your own business and then having guns trained on you, and being demanded to lay on the ground. I mean, that obviously would have, that's trauma, right? What was the demeanor of the officers? They cuff you. What happens at that point?
He put me in handcuffs, and they put me in the backseat of the RCMP vehicle, and they asked if I shot twice at that guy's house, and I said no. I said I shot that moose twice. And he said, well, there's no hunting signs in the field along the road. And I said, I know. I said I wasn't shooting in the field along the road. I shot it right on the road. And he said, well, that moose probably came out of that field, so you shot somebody's moose.
You shot somebody's moose?
Yeah.
That's rich.
So yeah, I told him that it wasn't. I watched it come down the roads towards me. It wasn't. When I seen it, it wasn't in that field. It was on the road that whole time.
So did they let you go at that point, or did your family come and join you at that point? Because like you said, you'd already texted your family asking for help to come in and retrieve the moose.
Well, I found out after that they did show up, but they left when they seen the RCMP lights. And conservation officers showed up, and a park warden showed up because it was right along Riding Mountain Park. And the conservation officer came over, and the first thing he asked if I was shooting at that guy's house. And I said, no, I wasn't. And I told him what happened, that moose was coming down the road. I shot it. It fell right where it was. It didn't run into the park or anything. So the park warden just walked away and left. And then they moved me from the RCMP vehicle to the conservation officer truck. And I was still in handcuffs for about 2 hours, and then the conservation officer came and he got in the truck and he said the RCMP were leaving. They were going to take their handcuffs off me and that they would be leaving, and they're not charging me with anything because they had nothing to charge me with, but he had to charge me with something. So I ended up getting fined $2,500 for shooting a bull moose and shooting off of a public road.
And they took your
which was
gun.
Almost like 400. Yeah, and they seized my rifle.
So what's happened since then? So you leave that day, obviously, shaken by this entire ordeal. Do you go to your band office? Kind of walk us through the step that you took next before AMC gets involved.
I went to see my family that was originally supposed to come and help me that day. I went and seen them, and I told them what happened. I showed them the papers. And then, yeah, we talked to the chief, and he's the one that said to get back to him, because he was going to get a hold of AMC. And then it's just gone to court a couple times now. And the Crown has offered a deal to drop a little bit of the fine, I guess, and give my rifle back.
So you'd still they're not dropping the charge or anything. They would reduce
No.
the fine for you, they're saying. They'll give you your rifle back. Are you going to do that, or you want this just to be completely absolved and no fine whatsoever, and even maybe an apology?
Yeah, that would be good, because when the Crown offered that, it said that they understand that there's Aboriginal hunting rights, but they feel that it needs to be done in a safe manner, which I don't agree with, because I feel nothing I did that day was unsafe.
So, I mean, I guess before we get back to like where things are now and when you're back to court next, before I get to that, is this, what's been the history in your community of harvesters from Rolling River, butting heads with police or conservation officers in the area, or other, land occupants in the area, settlers in the area? What's kind of been the history there? Has there been problems before this?
None that I remember anybody saying anything. Like this road I've been on, surrounding reserves hunt on that road, and I've never heard of any issues.
So you had said that, the RCMP... Sorry, finish your thought there.
Sorry. Like my uncle that told me I could always hunt there, he's been hunting there for years. And I remember going there when I was a little kid. And there's never been an issue.
The RCMP district commander contacted you after this incident. What was said in that conversation?
He called and from a private number about 9 o'clock at night. He was apologizing for what the officers had did for pulling out rifles, and that they had no right to do that, and asked if I could meet him for a coffee and talk about it. So I agreed, and he told me I'll get back to you next week. So the following week came, he called again, and he said that he would like to meet with me and the 2 officers that were there. So I agreed, and then I didn't hear from him till after it went to court the first time, and then he called and said that, or it changed from all that to he wanted me to meet with these 2 officers at the RCMP headquarters in Winnipeg. And I haven't talked to them since.
When does this go back to court? And we'd said that the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs stepped in. They're paying for your lawyer for this, saying that this is about protecting everybody's harvesting rights. When are you back in court, and what happens next?
I don't know. This was just, I think yesterday or the day before, my lawyer contacted me and told me that it will be set in place for the next court date to dispute.
Why are you doing this?
I don't want anything like this to happen to my nephews or any other young people that are coming up, learning how to hunt or doing anything. Like, Like I said, we always see videos of these Native people being shot that are unarmed. Like, this could have been a whole different story if it went the other way.
Well, I'm sure that would have been going through your head too at that moment, or maybe even not at the exact moment, but certainly afterwards when you look back at that, that really could have gone a whole different way for you. We are out of time. Jordan, I really thank you for taking the time to share that story with us. That can't be easy to recount what you went through, and we are going to be following this story until it comes to a close, so thanks for sharing. We are all out of time for our show today. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to Tamara Malcolm and Donna Desjarlais for joining us, and of course Jordan Mckay for sharing their stories with us all. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We're going to see you back here next week as we put Indigenous tourism in focus. Lots of great news on that front, so we'll share that with you next week. Until then, have a great afternoon.